Hello viewers, welcome to my Doctor Who themed YouTube channel, Who Ventures. And in this video I am reviewing Doctor Who Series 12 Episode 1, Spyfall. So we have the extremely cool looking font for all these place names. Ivory Coast, West Africa, there's a sniper, glowy thing. Pacific Ocean aeroplane, spy, glowy thing. A new place with a safe house, a guy, glowy thing through ceiling. I really liked the fonts on this. Then the titles, we got the opening titles, and I felt the bass and the music actually vibrating my sofa a little bit. So I think there's a heavy bass in the titles. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same as Series 11 titles, but I noticed the heavy bass. And then we got a sequence of everybody's excuses for not seeing their family and their friends and stuff. Ryan he's been ill, and then something else happened, then he was ill again. And there's his excuse for seeing his mates. I like the bit where he was going for put the ball in the basket, but he was like thinking really hard about it, and then the ball still didn't get in the go in the basket. But it's a good example of dyspraxia, and because I've done that, and it's difficult. So I thought it was a good example of dyspraxia. And then he turns around and sees the men in black. They've come to pick him up. Then Yaz's house. I like her dad went trying to get Alexa to play his rubbish soul music. And Yaz's excuse is that a police job, she's on secondment. I'm not quite sure what that means, but apparently she has to go away somewhere. It is her excuse. And then there's car and men in black. She has to make her excuses to the copper at work and all. Then we see Graham's hospital appointment, and he's all checked up fine, which is good. And then there's tells his doctor he's been travelling. Then the car and the men in black come pick him up. And then at a garage we see the doctor, and she's working on the TARDIS, but she's draining some of the water areas on the TARDIS, so she's got all these pipes and cables, and they're coming out the bottom of the TARDIS, which is jacked up in a garage, and it's next to a car. And the doctor's got her cool goggles on, and steampunk goggles, and she's draining all the TARDIS water attractions like the rainforest lake and stuff like that. I really like that. I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't. It's been a couple of days since the episode, and I've seen on Twitter, oh no, the TARDIS can't have wires coming out of the bottom. No. It's a made up spaceship, so it can do whatever it likes. So I really like that scene. So I might be coming across a bit salty. It's because I had to change rooms with my filming, and I'm not very confident with my talking, because I already did an hour of talking about Dracula, which was really fun, but now I'm a bit not that confident. So we'll carry on. So then lots of men in blacks come to get the TARDIS, and then they're all in this car that they've been picked up in the drivers, don't know what happened to all the other cars, but anyway, this driver's taking them somewhere, and then the sat-nav starts distorting, and the driver's zapped, and the driver's not even there. And then the car's like speeding along on its own, and there's a bomb in it, and the sat-nav's driving the car. So the doctor tries to get the steering wheel, and then she's nearly sapped. Then she's like, quick, give me a reflective surface. So she does that, and the sat-nav saps itself because of the reflective surface. And then the speaker is C speaking from MI6. So the doctor's driving to London then. She's driving the car and they go to MI6. So they arrive at MI6 and then the TARDIS is being brought in the background. So she's really happy about that. And C is like one of MI6 and he's all at one of the Not My Doctor crowns like, ew, but the Doctor is a man. He is played, as Pip Madeley said, by National Treasure Stephen Fry. But it's a dig at the Not My Doctor crowd who are dicks. And he's all, but no, the Doctor is a man. And the Doctor's all like, have had an upgrade. So MI6 need the Doctor's help because these intelligence officers have been attacked. So they visit this agent in this sort of medical room, and the Doctor's reading the med info, and the patient's DNA has been rewritten, like she's been erased, and that's not actually sci-fi. Because it's dangerously close to what people are doing, wanting to explore at the moment. There's people saying these scientists have found this gene or something, or scientists have found a way to rewire a brain, and that's what they want to do to autistic people. So there is like the master and being dicks. Sorry, I've already revealed the master's in it. Never mind, you should have watched it before watching my review. So no. So anyway, so she has got all these spy gadgets, and Graham's playing about with them, being a bit daft. And Daniel Barton is the founder of Thor, and he's told you I can't talk right. I'm not very good at this. He's a parody of Zuckerberg and Facebook and that, taking over the planet with tech. But C sacked him, so he's gone rogue and he's gone on and do his own thing. And MI6 doesn't cover alien stuff. And they was going to give it to UNIT and torture it, but the Doctor says they've all gone. So it's up to the Doctor, and the Doctor makes this phone call to Daniel Barton, it's meant to be from C, but she sends him this message. She says, kisses, and talks to Jazz and says, it's quite French, is that, kisses. And then C is shot in the neck, and it's like, oh no. Then there's lots of sapping, it's like, whoa! And these glowy things morphing through walls. And these glow things, I've noticed, look like Mr. Ben from the cartoon, because they look like they've got top hats on, but they might be Ford, who have got that Teletubby stuff on top of their heads. And then they get Doctor's given a picture of a fish, and it's this spy thing called stenography, where there's a hidden picture inside the picture, inside the pixels. And then one of these glow creatures tries to get into the TARDIS, and he actually managed to get halfway through the door, and but they managed to send the TARDIS, set it into flight, and nothing's meant to be able to get through the TARDIS doors, so that's a bit unusual. And the Doctor's like, there's no readings on the sonic, what's going on? So the Doctor and Graham go to Australia, and Yaz and Ryan go undercover to meet Daniel Barton, and they've got all these gadgets so they can scan him. So Yaz poses as a journalist, and Ryan poses as a photographer, and he picks Logan as his name because he likes Wolverine. But then he worries that, but I don't look like Wolverine. They'll think I'm Wolverine because he thinks they'll think he's Wolverine. There's more than one person named Logan, Ryan. It's okay. So Yaz poses as Sophia. Then Daniel Barton's like, oh, there's been a mix-up. I fired half the PR team. And then one of his PR said, he only fired 2. No, all of them. Ah. And then we see the Great Victoria Desert, Australia. And we meet O, who's played by Sacha Dhawan, who I already really like anyway. So when I saw it was his face, saw him on the screen, I was like, yeah, I like him. So it's Australian Secret Service there, who are the 2 security guards outside. So we go into their stand, and it's got all the alien records, including a full collection of the 14 times, which is very interesting. I have read a couple of issues of that, but what I used to buy a lot was the Weekly World News, mainly because I like the smell. So yeah, and I think I bought the one that had Batboy on the front cover, but I mainly bought it because I like the smell of it. Anyway, so it's monitoring this chatter about the spies. And then we cut back to Daniel Barton's office, and Yaz has started the interview. And a nice little detail, Ryan forgot the lens cap on the spy camera, so it's like, ooh, and then he would twist it for that. It's quite cute. And it's talking about, Daniel Barton is talking about how he started on computers in his bedroom because he didn't have the opportunities because he's black and everybody was racist because all the white people got more privilege, which they did. So he had to start teaching himself about stuff in his bedroom. And then they've accused him of, and his company, of ignoring the bad side of the internet, like bullying and trolls and all the dark stuff. And then he starts making excuses. And Daniel Barton then says he's having a birthday party, invites Yaz and Ryan. And then Yaz reads a scanner and he's only 93% human. I wonder what the rest of him is. Some people are saying he might be the Rani, working with the master. And then we're back in Australia, and something tripped the movement sensors outside and all the lights come on. And then these security officers are investigating. There's only 2 of them. And they're looking outside, and the doctor's looking at the Sonic, and there's just no Sonic readings. And there's things watching him. Then the security lights start flashing, and then they go off. Then a jump scare of a big glowy creature coming for one of the security persons. And they start surrounding the building, but then they're sacked by the security wall. But one's still coming into the building. So O's plan B has got this big glass box he can trap it in. And then it's coming through, and then they trap it. But then it starts and nearly gets back out of the box again, but he manages to contain it in the box. Then the doctor interviews Glowy Creature, and she says, "Who are you? Why? What you doing?" And the glow thing says, "Oh, far beyond your understanding." And that this human shaped because they're on a mock humans. And they try and take the universe. And Ryan and Yaz are spying on Daniel Barton's computer, collecting files. And Ryan's having a chat that's saying he wants Yaz's sister's phone number, and that he could be brother-in-law to Yaz and stuff. And then Daniel Barton forgets his bag, so he goes back in the room, and Yaz and Ryan have died. And then the glowy creatures, turns out the glow creatures under Daniel Barton's orders. And the glow creatures that want to stop the what the goal was, but Daniel Barton says, no, we've got to complete it, we've got to carry on. Then Yaz is looking for more stuff. Then a glowing creature gets it and absorbs it, and Ryan runs away, and we see Yaz in this place, and it's got loads of cables hanging down, but it's all blue lighting and stuff. And she's shouting to see if there's anybody else there. So the glowing creature in Australia gets more glowy, and then there's zapping down the cables where and there's lots of glowing on Daniel Barton's building, and there's glowy things, glowy, and then Yaz is sort of teleported to Australia, and Yaz is upset, and Ryan's like, whoa, what happened, where is she? And then the doctor gets Ryan to us, they get him, and they're all together again. Then Ryan's talking to Yaz, and Yaz is crying, and says there is nothingness and nowhere, and she was scared. Then O was chatting to Gray, and Yaz thought she died because there was like nothing. Then O is chatting to Graham about that he chose to live in exile, and he met the doctor when she was a man, and and Graham's really surprised at that. And O says that he's got files on all the different doctors, Joanna, Luke, and Graham's almost tempted to read these files, but he holds back. Then doctor comes in, I made iced tea, and they've been studying info about Daniel Barton, and that his company is more powerful than most countries, and that countries use tech experts that are based in different countries to help him with tech and stuff. And then the doctor found some alien code in the smallest company in Daniel Barton's portfolio, and she decodes it and finds coordinates for where the creatures are on planet Earth. But there's these creatures all over planet Earth, and then the picture starts dividing up and into multiple Earths, and at that point I got a little bit worried about Rose in 10.5 on their parallel world. Does that mean there one too? And then the doctor says to O, fancy a trip in the box? Then O goes in, he said, shut up, ridiculous. So at that point we think, oh, he's just awed by the TARDIS and how big it is. But it gets a double meaning once we find out who O really is. And then we find out that there's doctor's telling him where the wardrobe room is in the TARDIS, and she mentions a few places, and she mentions karaoke buses, and they sound awesome. And then everyone's going to Daniel Barton's party, and they're all dressed up in tuxedos, and there's Bond style music, and I loved the doctor, I love that bit. And O looks nervous, and Daniel Barton already knows what Yaz has found because he's seen it on his phone. And Graham and Ryan are playing roulette, and Graham's being silly again, and it's funny. And then the doctor's at the blackjack table, and it's like card, snap, and she thinks she's playing snap. I like that. I thought it was funny. And Yaz and O are playing the is it craps, the dice game. And then Doctor starts chatting to Daniel Barton, and she blurts out everything, says, oh, what you doing with aliens? Your company's alien, isn't it? What you doing? You're only 93% human. And he's just stood there, I don't know what you're talking about, love. And then he go escaping in his car, and then the Doctor, apparently, in one of their adventures, they went into the Great Calispiran bike-off, so they have experience on motorbikes. So the Doctor, the fam, and they all get on these motorbikes, start driving through vineyards and chasing the car, and there's Bond-style music, and it's really cool sequence. They get to the aircraft hangar, and then I noticed that the Doctor's got that red lining in her tux long coat, so I thought that was cool. And then the Doctor's climbing onto the plane, and Darry Barton's taking off the plane, so all the fam managed to get onto the plane and and then we find out that we see through the window, and his house, his hut that he was in, is flying alongside the plane, and that's the Master's TARDIS. I love that. It's like it's the Master's TARDIS from Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. I love that, and that's what I would call a TARDIS, an actual house that's got like a nice sofa and comfy seats and stuff. That's what I prefer for a TARDIS. And proper comfy seats and seat belts in the central console room. That's what I'd have. So then Van O is the Master, and he does the Saskatchewan acts this really amazingly. He's brilliant, and he's the cutest Master, I think. And he's back into his tissue compression, and he shrunk the reel out into a matchbox. Well, that was really fun. That technology is back. And then he's put a bomb on the plane, and he's actually really scary. And it turns out he's got control of the glowy creatures. Then this plane is crashing, and then the Doctor gets sapped to this cables, the place with all the cables and the blue light. Dun dun, and that's the cliffhanger. So I love Saskatchewan. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he's amazing. He's a brilliant Master, and I read what he wrote on Instagram about when he got the part, and I think he's amazing. He's brilliant. And then just after the Doctor Who credits, we got a trailer for Good Omens, which just makes me really happy. Because obviously I already watched Good Omens last year on Amazon Prime, and found my Good Omens family and made tons of art. So I thought that was a good spot for the Good Omens trailer too. So if you don't know what that is, you better watch it, because it's brilliant too. So that was my review for Series 12, Episode 1. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. Yay!